Hi, my name's Keith Cooper of Northlight Images. I'm looking at this, the Epson P5300, 5370 in the States, other numbers elsewhere. It is essentially the Epson P900, P700 print head in the chassis of the Epson P5000. That means it's much bigger, it's much more, I'm going to say it's almost certainly more reliable. It prints faster, it supports roll paper, it supports sheet, cassette, off the top, straight through, but all sorts. Anyway, what I'm going to have a look at this particular video is making a black and white fine art print. Now, all right, I'll admit I don't know what fine art actually means, but it's the sort of papers that you use. It's how you market things. But anyway, the paper I'm using here is one of Hahnemühle's Natural Line. Now, I looked at these last year. It's why I've got the paper here, because I tested it on the P5000 and also did an event and was sort of using it on some other big printers. Now, it's a nice paper. This particular one I've got here is 290 GSM. I've got a 17-inch roll of it loaded in here. This is, this is a hemp-based paper. It's 60% hemp, 40% cotton, something like that. But remember, it's the coating that makes the difference. This particular paper, I've done some black and white test prints on it. Now, I'll have lots more information on this when I do the written review, because this is quite sort of techie stuff. But essentially, I've decided that this paper, I print with the ABW mode in the driver, that's the advanced black and white. If I print with the ABW mode, whether it's direct from Photoshop, as I'll show an example here, or I could use Epson Print Layout. Makes no difference. I'm just, for convenience here, ignore the exact software that I'm using for the printing. The real key for it is the fact that I'm using the ABW mode. Now, I've tested it and found out I don't need to make any adjustments. There is a perhaps slight non-linearity of it. This is the sort of stuff I'll cover in the written review. But it prints very well, gives a very good neutral black and white straight out of the box, as it were. Anyway, this is it, the paper. I've got it loaded. Pop that out of the way. It's fed through, it's set up. The printer tells me that the roll here is 430.1 millimeters across. Now, always worth checking this, since what I'm going to do on this 17-inch width paper, I'm going to prepare a custom paper size of 17-inch by 25-inch. Why 17 by 25? Well, it means with a half-inch border, you can put a 16 by 24 image in it, 16 by 24, so it fits perfectly the aspect ratio of an image taken with a normal 35mm sensor. I do have custom sizes I've made for fitting the 4:3 ratio of the 100 megapixel GFX 100S I use as well, but this particular image was taken 35mm format. 17 by 25 is not a common paper size here in the UK. In fact, I've never seen it advertised. I do know in the States, though, that Red River produce 17 by 25 sheets. Now, if I had 17 by 25 sheets, I would print this exactly the same, except I would specify a sheet paper size, and I would load it in the slot here, and it would go through, come out exactly the same. But anyway, I've got stuff loaded up on the computer, so I'm just going to set it up to print. Now, the image here is one of Wells Cathedral that I've used quite often for testing. One of the reasons I use the same images quite often for testing is it gives you a consistency. I know the image, I know what it should look like. Here it is on 17 by 25. I've set it for, this is in the Photoshop dialog. Doesn't really matter whether I was using EPL, Epson Print Layout, but the key here is I've set to Printer Manager's Color. That's because I want to use the ABW mode. So in the driver, in the print settings, I've set a custom setting here, and I just made sure that I've got the right paper size and that I've got the right settings for everything. So once you've made one of these custom presets or something like this, I give it a name that means something. So this one says P5300 USFA Ultra Smooth Fine Art. That's the media setting I'm using on the printer. ABW 17 by 25 roll HQ. It's the quality, this is the quality 1440 setting. I found that going for the very highest setting on it makes not a great deal of difference. Now on some glossy papers you may find that it makes a difference and that you do get finer detail. Now I'm printing here, the print resolution is 495 pixels per inch. Now 495, that's a huge number, I hear somebody saying. Yeah, it is. That's because I've got detail to spare. Send more detail to the prints, you get more detail out of it. Now I'm just going to press print and see what happens. Now, as I regularly mention, it's not the quickest of laptops, so it's going to take a while for an image that size to process. And yeah, the laptop's indicating that things are going on. This will start up, the fans will start going, and it will start printing. Now I've set this to, there's a flashing light here telling me that data is coming. There we go, the fans have started up. Now I've set it to cut normally, so it will cut the print when it's printed it. If you're wondering whether to use roll or sheet, I've got another video I've done which looks at roll or sheet, but in general, for larger print sizes, unless you've got the sheet size of exactly what you want, roll is quite convenient, although you may have to cut it a bit. Now it tells me that the picture is going to take 10 minutes to print. A quick look here and I can see that it started, top of it, yeah, it's printing okay. There's no light, unlike the P900, which has lighting inside it. There is no light that illuminates, but I've got lighting up here and I can see quite clearly through the plastic here that it's printing okay. I'm printing bidirectional. Since this printer seems to handle it quite well, I've noticed no difference in printing with this, the P5300, or the P5000 I've got upstairs. I've got lots of stuff about the P5000 if you're curious about that, but there's no real difference in the print quality whether you're doing bidirectional or unidirectional. It's possible if you're doing some ultra precise stuff you might find an advantage in doing unidirectional. I don't know. You can configure papers, you can set. If I was going to use this paper a lot, I'd probably create a custom media type for the printer that specified ultra smooth fine art as the base media setting, but perhaps adjusted things like the thickness and a few other stuff just to improve the precision of the printing, and also just to make it easier to set here, because when I load paper then, if I've got a custom media, all I do would be load the Hahnemuhle Hemp setting. Lo and behold, it would do all the settings. It would be based on the USFA Ultra Smooth Fine Art, and there you go. Now, the difference between the similar setting to this would be the VFA or Velvet Fine Art. I've looked at making prints on this and there's very little difference I can see between them. So in general, for roll media like this, I usually settle for the USFA setting. Now, I've also, as well as testing this for black and white, I've made a full colour profile. Now, the colour profiles for all the papers I've tested will be available on request when I get round to finishing the final review. There are quite a few of them, but I'm still not certain. I have done a few tests. I'm still not certain whether, if you've got a printer profile for the Epson P900, whether it will work on it. Yes, it'll work. I'm not sure whether there's any difference in quality. I need to do some more experimenting to actually see that. But it's worth noting that if you've got one of these and you can't get a profile, because it's going to take a while for profiles to appear, it might, and I emphasize might, you'll need to test this, be worth getting the P900 profile for the media that you want and trying that. just as a, sort of get you out of jail type thing when you need to do a print, could be okay. The ABW mode is purely set by the media setting. So this is the mode for USFA. You can, with some papers, on some printers, I find I need a very slight adjustment curve in Photoshop because maybe the shadows are a bit crunched. With this, all the papers I've looked at so far for printing black and white have either been pretty much spot on in terms of reproducing the tonal range linearly from black to white, or the adjustments required on them have been so small that they fall into the probably not worth doing category. Now, if you want to set things up more precisely, there are lots of ways. Now, I've got test articles, I've got test charts, all sorts of things. But in looking at the test prints for this, I decided that I don't really need any adjustment, not for real life images. But anyway, this one's on its way. It tells me I have 5 minutes left, and it's coming out here. Just point out that the border on the leading edge on roll paper has a bit extra added to it. There'll be a bit extra on the end as well. So whilst the positioning with the borders at either side is spot on, you may well need to trim the length of the print as it comes out. If you're going to get a printer like this and you're going to be printing on good quality roll papers like this, get yourself a decent roller cutter so that you can just put this through and just do a nice neat cut on it. If you've got wallpaper scissors, yeah, that'll do at a push, but I much prefer a good roller cutter for it. But anyway, looking at detail, it's fine. I've got tonality in the shadows. The highlights are there. We'll see when I look at the whole print out, but there's nothing here that says anything to be concerned about. But then again, I knew that. That's why I did the test print. The black and white test print I've got has got full instructions for what it tells you how to use it. If you're going to print black and white on a particular paper, use something like that test print. You don't have to use that. The particular version I used for this has got a bit that allows me to automate measuring. It's got a grayscale on it that I can measure. You don't need that. It's meant primarily visually. But if that print comes out, then all your black and white should come out fine. If that print comes out okay, and your first photo that you print out, black and white, doesn't look right, that tells you there is something wrong with your editing. Almost certainly, the most common reason for that is that you've got your screen brightness set too high, and you're opening up the shadows, or you're seeing open shadows because the screen's too bright. When you print, because of the much less dynamic range, the shadows get crunched up. But the key with this image is I can see details in the shadows here, everything. That's looking fine. Well, should be nearly done now. There we go. It says 2 minutes to go. Well, I don't know what it's going to do in those 2 minutes, but it's no more printing. Here is the print. And it's, one of the reasons I print it is because it's an image I like. So it's the steps up to the chapter house at Wells Cathedral, Wells. And it's an architectural photograph that's actually quite important to me, because one of the things that got me interested in architectural photography was photography of F.H. Evans. I think it was 1908. He took a photograph just called A Sea of Steps, and it is just a section of this one here. Now, he was using a large format camera and obviously did not have such a wide angle lens as this. This is my version of it taken when I got the Canon TSE 17mm shift lens. This is taken with a shift lens. That's why everything is nice and vertical and stuff like that. But as a print, it has fine detail, it has shadow detail, distinction in the height. It's spot on. Anything I would do with this? No. I like this image on papers like this because it is not overly contrasty. If I was to print this image on a Barita paper or a luster paper or even a gloss paper, it would look very different. This is the look I want. The look I want comes from a combination of choice of paper type here. There are no optical brighteners in this, so this is a natural paper, so there's no excess brightness on it. So that's what I like, particularly for stonework. But there you have it. One big print, nothing to it. Just put the right paper in and away you go. All you have to do is take the photograph in the first place. Anyway, I'm going to have lots more little videos like this covering different types of printing on this. The P5300 is a nice printer. I expected it to be from a physical point of view because it's based on the 55000. It has excellent paper handling. No problems whatsoever with it. Yeah. And having seen black and white and colour results on it, I think I'm going to be able to see some differences between the P5000 and this. If Epson said you can keep this one and we'll take the 5000 back, yeah, I think I'm leaning towards keeping this one purely because this one doesn't have the black ink swap. The extra colours in it. Anyway, that's another video to look at. Hope this has been of some interest, and thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.